The Battle of Hunain. The violent tribes of Hawazin and Thaqif joined hands. Collecting a large force, they marched upon the Muslims in order to enable them to pursue their hostility to the bitter end, and to inspire their own ranks to desperate deeds. They had brought their families with them. On the 6th of Shawwal, a pitched battle was fought at Hunain, about 10 miles from Makkah. The Hawazin and Thaqif had taken up vantage position. They almost took the Muslims by surprise, attacking them in the early hours of the morning. They fought in a spirit of desperation. The Muslims first lost ground and their defeat seemed imminent. At that time, a cousin of the Holy Prophet named Abu Sufyan ibn al-Harith was holding the bridle of the Prophet's horse. As the Prophet was witnessing his people's retreat, he called out to them, "Where are you running off to?" But nobody was paying any attention to him. The Prophet ﷺ then told his uncle Abbas to call the Muslims back. Abbas wondered as to how his voice would reach the fleeing herds. The Prophet ﷺ said that Allah would cause his voice to reach them, no matter how far they might have gone. Abbas called them in these words, as the Prophet had taught him, "O group of the helpers, O people of the tree of Samra." Those who proved to be firm in the Battle of Hunain include Abbas, Ali ibn Abi Thalib, Abu Sufyan ibn al-Harith, Aqil ibn Abi Thalib, Abdullah ibn al-Jubair, Jubair ibn al-Awam, and Usamah ibn Zaid. Al-Halabi remarks in Al-Shira Al-Halabiyah that only 4 persons remained with the Holy Prophet, 3 of whom were Hashemites, i.e. Ali ibn Abi Thalib, Abbas and Abu Sufyan ibn al-Harith, and 1 non-Hashemite, i.e. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Abdul Fida makes another point. He says, "When the Muslims fled, the secret malice which the people of Makkah entertained against the Muslim was exposed." Abu Sufyan ibn Harb cleverly cried out, "They will not stop until they reach the seashore." However, after the call of Abbas, at last the deserters returned, and ultimately the Hawazin and Thaqif were totally routed. The Thaqif took refuge in the city of Taif, but the families of the Hawazin, with all their flocks and herds, fell into the hands of the Muslims. Taif was besieged, but the siege was lifted a day later. The Hawazin approached the Prophet and beseeched him to restore their families to them. The prophet answered them that he could not compel his army to forego all the fruits of victory, and that if they wanted their families back, they would have to forego their worldly goods to this. The Hawazin consented. On the next day, on the advice of Holy Prophet, they approached the Prophet and repeated their request. The Prophet replied, "My own share of the captives and that of the children of Abdul Muttalib I give back to you at once." The army followed suit, and 6,000 people were set free. The Hawazin were so overwhelmed by this generosity that many of them accepted Islam there and then. The spoils of the war, which consisted of 24,000 camels, 40,000 goats, and considerable quantity of silver, were distributed among the army. In making the distribution, the newly converted Muslims as well as many non-Muslims of Mecca, known in history as Mu'alaf Qulub, those who were helped in order to win their heart, were given disproportionately large shares. Some Ansar consider this as an act of partiality, and their discontent was reported to the Prophet. It was also reported that Ansar feared that now that Makkah was conquered, the Holy Prophet would return to it and migrate from Medina. The Holy Prophet delivered a lecture to them wherein he said, "O Ansar, I have learned about your discourse. When I came to you, you were wandering in the dark, and the Lord gave you the right direction. You were suffering, and He made you happy. You were enemies of one another, and He filled your heart with brotherly love and concord. Was it not so? Tell me." "Indeed, it is even as you say," was the reply. "Lord, and to His Prophet belong the benevolence and the grace." "Nay, by the Lord," continued the Prophet, "but you might have answered my question, and answered truly, for I would have testified to its truth myself. You came to us rejected as an impostor, and we believed in you. You came as a helpless fugitive, and we assisted you. You were poor and outcast, and we gave you asylum, comfortless, and we solace you. O Answer, why do you disturb your heart because of the thing of this life? Are you not satisfied that others should return with the flocks and he the camels, while you go back to your homes with me, your midst? By him who holds my life in his hands, I shall never abandon you. If all my kind went one way and the answer went another, surely I would join the answer. The Lord be favorable to them, and bless them, and their children, and their children's children. At these words, say the chroniclers, they all wept until tears ran down their breasts, and they all cried with one voice, "Yes, prophet of God, we are well satisfied with our share," meaning the presence of holy prophet in Medina. Thereupon they returned, happy and contented. Muhammad soon after returned to Medina.